This episode of Ticket Volume is brought to you by us, Invigate. Get service operations under control in no time. Get 1 free month of our software solution by going to try.invigate.com. Ticket Volume is proud to present an ITAM Professional and Principal Consultant for SAM Beast Consulting. He got his start in IT asset management at companies like Aeroflex, Protobahn, Santander, Arup and Johnson Matthey, among others. He also served as an analyst for ITAM Review and started ITAM Volunteers, an organization that helped companies struggling to adapt asset management during the pandemic. He currently serves as a committee member for ISO IEC, focused on what else? IT asset management. Welcome to Ticket Volume, news and information for improving IT experiences. I'm your host, Matt Barron, and each week I get to geek out with different leaders to share their insights on service management, technology, business, and this episode is exactly that. I hope you're having a great day and week, and I also hope that you'll leave a comment or share this podcast with someone. Get involved, get us improving. Now, let's begin. Welcome to Ticket Volume, David Foxen.
Thank you very much, Matt. I'm so excited to be here. I'm honoured as well to be invited to speak from an ITAM perspective. It's awesome, man. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for being here. You're one of the voices that I see online. You're very focused, and that I continually put this in my personal branding presentations. That focus, that one true focus for your career and your ideas and what you're interested in, really keeps you relevant. And it makes you the go-to person for asset management, among others like Claire Agatar. She also focuses a lot on asset management, but you're definitely it. So thanks for taking some time to talk on this very important subject.
Thank you. No, very much appreciated. It's hard, isn't it, sometimes when you put yourself out there, especially in the IT asset management world and technology as a whole, because everyone has an opinion. And as long as people know that, the intentions are just trying to help, it's not to dictate anything. But brand, I've been very fortunate that the branding stuff kind of just fell into it for me, just thanks to a Starbucks mug when I was 21, just starting out in ITAM. Someone dared me to get SAM Beast on a Starbucks cup as your name. And I did it, and it's just kind of snowballed from there. And Matt, I promise you, before I started my company, I spoke to like KPMG, Deloitte, the senior audit firms. Like, right, starting my consultancy, what should I call it? Every single one of them said it's got to be SAM Beast. Like, that's just what you're known as. You've got to run with it. But now, when I'm engaging with clients, I'm like, yeah, SAM Beast Consulting. I promise you, it's not as egotistical as it sounds, and you have to go through the story. But it is what it is. So I'm proud of it. It's fine.
Yeah, I do like it. And people in our industry know SAM right away because it's the acronym everyone uses. Software asset management. It's easier than saying software or contract because it's inclusive. It includes so many things. And then I of course also love it because tongue in cheek. Then you also think ham, like hardware asset management, and that I don't know. There's something very hammy about Sammy.
Oh, Matt, wow, something very hammy about Sammy. Oh, the amount of like ham sandwich jokes and stuff whenever you go into a new client. People think this is the first time you've ever heard of like the ham joke. It's like, not heard that one before. Yeah.
But you've been doing it for 13 to 14 years, right? Like you've been in software asset management. It's really where you found your start and you've stayed there. So you must really enjoy it, right? Like what do you actually really like? There must be a reason you stay here, right?
Absolutely. So first of all, I've never known any different. I think that's a very key thing for me is I started my whole career as an 18-year-old doing basically my dad gave me a job in his company and said, I've got cabinets and loads of physical software boxes, retro. This is the 2000s we're talking of here. Physical software boxes. I need you to go and catalog them, organize them, update a spreadsheet, etc. And then that kind of spiraled into software licensing, software asset management. And then obviously that evolved into ham, the ham Sammy, can't Sammy Hammy. That evolved into the hardware side of things. And then ITAM kind of, took over as being, well, you can't do one without the other. And then there was new things to learn on the hardware side of things, cloud side of things. So I've just got so lucky. Not many people immediately fall into something like that just through almost an accident of I just had to organize some software boxes into finding my passion and something that I'm genuinely interested in. You mentioned in your intro about geeking out. I'm always looking at the latest Microsoft licensing news, Oracle, new ham technologies, asset tagging, cloud, FinOps. It doesn't stop for me. It doesn't feel like a job. I'll be reading like FinOps books in the evening, whereas a lot of people I understand would maybe not find ITAM as engaging. I think that's fair to say. I've been told many a time that people find it boring, but for me, it's just my thing. I just love the impact it can make, the difference it can make, the customer kind of experience as well. It's evolved like so much over the past 15 years. It looks very different to when I started, but it just makes me love it even more. You have to evolve.
Yeah, we've really had to evolve. When we met earlier, you were talking about the COVID change and that group that you started. The what was it called again? The
The
ITAM.
ITAM volunteers, yeah.
What a great idea. I mean, of course, it's going to lead to business, of course, because like we got to make money, we got to survive, and what a great thing to do for those organizations, because there are so many service desk managers and service desk staff that hit a mental low during that time.
Yeah.
People were working 60-hour weeks, 70-hour weeks, shifting thousands of people from office environments to their homes. It was not pretty at all.
And there was no blueprint. There was
No.
you couldn't Google it and go, oh, how have other people done this during the pandemic because you were living it. So yeah, ITAM volunteers was basically, we identified very early on that some software vendors were also increasing their audit activities during COVID just to make things even more fun. And yeah, just a band of ITAM consultants. I sent a message out like, would you be able to give a couple of hours of your time a week, maybe answer some questions, work people through it. And what quickly transpired that was licensing wasn't the main challenge for them. It was actually the hardware side of things. It was I don't have enough stock to give my users to work from home. There are supply chain issues and delays.
Mm-hmm.
Some people were actually told by the supplier that it's basically highest bidder wins. We've got 10 of this spec laptop. We've got 5 customers wanting it. What are you going to pay? Highest bidder wins. And ITAM managers during that time, there was so much kind of confusion. There was no, like I said, you couldn't Google it and see what had happened in the past, what had worked well. And that's when, you mentioned about it evolving and it changing, but hardware asset management, which has kind of always been in the shadow of the SAM side of things because there's, less audits, there's less compliance risks. They're a bit more static and less sexy. But then during COVID, the interest in hardware asset management just went absolutely through the roof and continues to now. People are still playing catch up from COVID, right? They're still trying to find laptops, phones, monitors, tablets, stuff that they sent home with people and going, don't actually know where this went now. Should probably find it. And yeah, still playing catch up on that. But, ham has just massively taken off since COVID. And I love that because now people are realizing that you can't do Sammy without Hammy, right? You need to do them both. And that's where ITAM comes into play. So SAM Beast, yeah, it kind of feels a bit outdated now. It should be like ITAM Beast. We don't just do SAM. We don't just do ham. We do the whole asset lifecycle management side of things. I'm going to have your
and I think
in my head for ages now.
I think people get it though. Like if you understand asset management, it's one of those things that translates well. You can even you can explain it to a finance person and be like, oh, you track assets. I track assets. So of course, sometimes they're worth more in the financial world, hopefully. But I think they're so intertwined, and you nailed it. So many people found gaps in their hardware asset management strategy. They sent home the story I keep hearing is that we sent home monitors. We said, just pick up your monitor and take it home with you. And now they have literally no idea what serial number is in what employee's home. Or docking stations is another one. And people they're asking, they're sending out surveys. What do you have at home? That's ours. And are you getting good data from that? I just can't imagine. I'm glad that I'm not in one of those hellish situations, but I'm sure you run across that all the time.
Oh, absolutely. So when you think about it in London in particular, during the during the very, very early stages of the pandemic, organizations, I had a couple of clients where they were testing working from home. They were testing, some people in the office, some people from home. And then literally the next day it was like lockdown. This is it, from lockdown. You can't go into work unless you're a key worker, etc. So the day before, there was some kind of rumors that might happen. So on the train and on the tubes in London, you just saw people with monitors under their arms, with desktops. Some people had laptops as well, phones, tablets, all sorts. And you're 100% right, because there was that reactiveness and that sheer panic. Things like monitors just completely fell by the wayside. No, they literally just grabbed what they could from a desk. And now, years later, they're going, oh, hold on, we ordered about 250 monitors in 2019, and we can only find 75 of them. Okay, where are the rest? Have you inventoried them? Did you grab the serial number? No. Right, well, it's a monitor. We can't inventory it. We can't ping it to get an IP or anything like that. So unless we do a user survey, I'm afraid you might have lost that monitor. But yeah, it was just, it's mad how in 2023, and we're still not fixing, but we're still seeing that hangover from that mad 2020 year. It's crazy.
That's a good way to put it. Hangover. It really is. And I also see like this shift in mentality in hardware assets around how if it costs below a certain threshold, we're not worried about it anymore.
Yeah.
I heard recently at an event, there's one company that's not even shipping back docking stations. They just tell the employees to keep it or send it to your environmental recycling center because it costs too much to ship back than it does to just buy a new one. Loco.
Yeah, but to be fair, I think there's a lot of that within the consumable space, right? So I must, be honest with clients. It does come down to the effort versus the reward.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have given out docking stations, if you have given out headsets, they cost you $70 new, for example. The users had them for a few years. They're probably going to be a bit battered, the way people like clumsily bang them in. The general feeling then is like, well, maybe they're not in the best condition to repurpose. So clients have either one or two ways of going about it. They do say exactly that. It's like, take it to your local electronic waste center. It's up to you to deal with it. It's a write-off from our perspective. It's consumable. It's a peripheral. We don't care. Or as part of your leaving package or your hardware refresh, or whatever the case may be, no, bring it back, and we'll dispose of it through our existing IT asset disposition or disposal processes, and we'll take the responsibility for doing that. But then if they're remote users, if it is like they've got to wrap it up in bubble wrap, they've got to package it, they've got to ship it, shipping costs $20 odd. It's suddenly all the effort to go through to doing that is financially just not worth it. And there's all these kind of decisions that, maybe historically before COVID, before the remote working, that you would absolutely, if you had a docking station, you would be getting that back, you'd be recycling it, you'd be following all your processes. Now, organizations are so much more financially savvy with hardware equipment, especially because the supply chain issues we had in 2021 and even last year was a nightmare. It's a bit better this year. Being able to physically get new kit has, became a real issue. So it's expanding the lifespan of assets more, so they could eke out maybe another year or so the supply chain could calm down. And then it's the budget side of things, right? We're seeing a lot of what I call like natural correction. You see like Meta letting people go. There's like so many huge organizations that perhaps overstocked in employees and therefore overstocked in hardware and software that are now, as the natural life cycle of an organization happens, are now reviewing that, restructuring it, identifying maybe, we were a bit mad before COVID in hiring all these people. Now times are a bit tougher. We need to get rid of people. And suddenly they're getting this influx of equipment back as well. So they have less need to buy new ones. And the other thing that COVID really shifted that I saw was even in the first few weeks of COVID, when we were scrambling around to find, okay, right, we've got 100 end-of-life laptops. They're still in working order, but they might have stickers on them. They might look a bit battered. In the first few weeks, we would have complaints from people saying, this isn't new, this looks rubbish, blah, 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 blah. But then as COVID happened, people realized that, well, no, actually, I can still do my job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't look aesthetically pleasing to me, but I'm just sat in my own office. I'm not on client meetings. It's fine. It does the job. We could sweat the asset. And I feel that mentality is actually carried on now, whereas people are far more used to getting a what I call pre-loved hardware asset than getting a brand new shiny one where you peel off the plastic wrapping and stuff. So yeah, it's shifted so much since COVID, and then whether that's driven by financials, whether that's driven by new business strategies for sustainability and green IT. But either way, from a hand perspective, it just opens up so many more doors for opportunity in terms of optimization, cost savings, hardware refresh planning. And then, of course, can't do Hammy without Sammy. When you're recouping hardware assets back, you're also getting software back.
Mm-hmm.
So, double win.
Yeah. Time to renegotiate those contracts because you've got
100%.
many less installs.
Yes.
Many less installs. I can tell you're an asset geek because you talked about human inventory there for a second. That was awesome. Okay, so obviously things are always changing in this industry. Like licensing models have always been complex. They continue to stay that way. What other patterns or trends have you seen change in the industry either recently or over the last couple of years that asset managers need to flex and understand and be a part of?
So software asset management, if we go back to the kind of retro terminology of just focusing on the software, that was very heavily focused on license compliance. Okay, you've got one license and one install, match, fine. One user, one license, match, fine. Obviously, in the server space, it was to do with processes and cores and the physical hardware stuff. So there was a lot of focus on compliance, on cost, on keeping auditors at bay. Really, it was keeping the wolf at the door, having a plan if that door was going to come knocking and you were going to have to start doing some audit stuff.
Yeah.
It really feels like over the past 5-6 years, and even more so since COVID, that the focus has really shifted away from compliance because, let's be honest, if you look at things like the Adobe Creative Cloud, Microsoft's 365 licensing model, all of this named user subscription stuff is so much easier to manage than the rogue device where you just, right, you've got 10 installs, it's up to you to install it on 10 devices, when actually you could go rogue and install it on 100. It's so much easier to manage those kind of instances and takes, personally, I believe, ITAM teams a lot less time to go through and manage those kind of license sets, because it is a case of, well, you can only use this software if I've assigned you a license in a portal, and if your name isn't on the list, you can't use it. It's kind of easy in that way. Obviously, data center stuff is way harder, but yeah, that kind of focus on compliance has really kind of not become secondary, but there's been far greater focus on like customer service. Okay, when someone puts in a request for software, I'm going to sound really old now, but the current generation and the new graduates, they're so used to getting everything instantly on an app. All they have to do on their phone is go, yep, like the look of that, install. Oh, installed within a matter of seconds. And this was something that really kind of dawned on me when I was getting requests from graduates, and in the ticket it was like, my request's been open for 2 days, why has the software not been installed? So you're like, well, it's not quite as easy as doing it from an app store. We've got licensing. If it's a net new application, we've got to do testing, etc. So that trend of the whole compliance bit, I feel like is shifting now towards that customer experience. It's like, okay, these, the new generation, they're used to having everything instantly. So how can we provision software and hardware in a really quick time when it's all set up properly, it's all configured properly, all the budgets have been signed up for? We still remain compliant with the software licensing, but it's a much smoother and better transition for the end user. Whereas before, SAM often got called the software police, right? Because, and to be fair, we still do sometimes.
Yeah.
But we really got called the software police a lot because there was a lot of, no, not got enough licenses, end of, we've just not got any budget, etc. Whereas now it's a case of more, how can ITAM support the whole business in meeting its overall goals and objectives through the use of hardware, software, and cloud instances as well? And that's been a really positive shift from my perspective, because cost savings and cost avoidances, it's just numbers on a screen at the end of the day, right? So you could have a budget, you could see a line item for all of your software, and it's just numbers, and you come in under that because you've renegotiated, you've done your internal audits, you've optimized, and now the number's X amount lower. But you don't see that in ITAM. the company as a whole might see it, but there's no tangible benefit from your perspective. You just get oh, great job, you're X amount under your budget of hardware and software. That's it. There's no, okay, well, we'll have this money then to improve our ITAM. It's like, no, it's just gone back into the company. It's gone now. It's just forget about it. It's gone. Oh, and by the way, because you did such a great job last year, we're reducing your budget for next year. Because if you manage to survive on this much, you're only going to need this much for next year as well. Which, come on, everyone knows that. Everyone, even if you don't need to, make sure you spend what you've been given in your budget, because if you don't, you're going to lose it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that customer experience has really evolved a lot. And especially, again, we keep mentioning it, but since COVID, with the agility of remote working, that opened up organizations to like whole countries, whole continents of talent. And now there's a new logistical challenge there in getting kit out to remote workers. Is it nicely packaged? Is it all configured properly? Because the last thing then you want is someone to go, received a laptop, it's dead on arrival, it's not working for me, or I've got the laptop, however, my Adobe Creative Cloud, my Office 365 isn't set up, I can't access OneDrive, I can't do. That's just not a really good first impression. Or if you're doing a hardware refresh, it's a terrible impression of ITAM and the ITAM hardware refresh process that you're so desperately trying to get people adhered to keep your fleet up to date. So customer experiences has been a real friend of ITAM over the past 5 years, because ultimately you need these people to follow your processes. And if you have rubbish processes and they don't see the value, they're not going to follow them, and it's going to cause ITAM even more pain.
Man, that is such a good point, and something that gets glossed over constantly. We don't always connect the dots that asset management is really like the interface that a lot of people have to IT and to our services. It's either through software or hardware. And yeah, like you said, everything's global now. So getting kit out, you got to nail it. You don't want to have to be shipping stuff back from Singapore and Hong Kong and Australia, New Zealand, or the US, or anywhere really, because it's going to cost an arm and a leg. And I really like the point that you made about how expectations have gotten grander. We expect, like, I need this thing, give me this thing, I have it today, I can get productive today. And that expectation has totally changed. It's not something we always take time to think about and realize. But yeah, if you're an asset manager or an application manager, you're probably hitting it every day that there's an onboarding.
No, absolutely. And even in your personal life, right? If you were on looking at buying a new laptop and you desperately needed it for work, for doing your podcasts, etc., and your supplier says, "Oh, well, that's going to be a 10-day turnaround time," you're like, "Well, that's not good enough." I'm so used to having things the same day or next day through someone like Amazon. Why have I got to wait 10 days? This isn't how it's supposed to work. Everything's meant to be quick, and so that I have less downtime. And it's the same with end users. So, I mean, I'm guilty of this. In the very early days of my career, and going back to the customer service, is my laptop's running slow. It can't be. You've just got, that's a new one. That's only 6 months old. It's got the latest processor. It's the latest model that we have. It can't be slow. Please, don't keep requesting a new one. Whereas nowadays, whether it's just I've got soft in my, as I've got, more matured and learned more about ITAM, but now I'm okay, well, let's actually look into this. How is it being too slow? Is it because, something's updated, the OS is updated? And 9 times out of 10, it is actually a software issue. You identify that Autodesk brought out a new update for AutoCAD, and actually now that's making the RAM max out.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before, I just feel like, no, mate, it's a new model. It was very kind of black and white, whereas now it's very much more, okay, well, let's actually dig into how this is happening. Unfortunately, this isn't hardware. We could give you the most amazing laptop in the world. It's actually a software issue. You'd have to wait for vendor X to, release a patch or an update, etc. And we've seen that quite a bit on the MacBook side as well. When there's like Mac OS updates, and then it's not compatible with certain software because they've not updated, and users go, right, well, it's the laptop, it's my MacBook, it's not working with this software anymore. It's clearly not good enough. So there's a bit more patience and educating users that I understand it may seem like your laptop is rubbish and not working, but actually we've got the tools now where we can see that this vendor's upgraded this and it doesn't work now because the OS needs to upgrade, or it's maxing out the RAM and they need to provide a bug fix and stuff like that. Whereas and kind of really understanding how your user using your hardware and software. That's something that we've taken, throughout working in software asset management, is when doing your audits. Okay, you've got this license, but how are you actually using it? Oh, you're only using these 3 features. Well, did you know you could have a much cheaper license that meets your requirements? It's doing the same for hardware now to make sure that everyone has what they need. It works as expected. We can get it within the timeframes that they want, and that we don't break any budgets and can manage them throughout their life cycle. So it's a big balancing act now, doing the whole ITAM piece, but it's an awesome challenge, and there's so much value you can add.
Dude, yes, it's such a complex.
You're going to want to become an ITAM manager now, Matt.
Yeah, of course I do. Or maybe not. Maybe that challenge is a little tough. But I love how you point out the paradox. It really is a paradox where, you could ship the best computer ever, and then you have this custom application that someone has also requested, and you just have no control over what architecture they use or what underlying open source systems they're using. And it ends up just bogging down the machine. And of course, they have the problem too, where there's a million different laptops out there and a million different mobiles out there. And that diversity, it can cause issues. So it really comes down to those details. What you have just described feels like the last mile for asset management. It's all the complexity of understanding, is there a cheaper license I can use? Is there alternate software I can use? And for so long, managing a Mac was really easy. If someone wanted a Mac, you were like, thank God we won't have to do as much on this thing. And that's slowly trickling away now that it's become such a popular ecosystem. So, man, that paradox is not easy to balance.
Matt, sorry, did you have stickers on your MacBook there?
Quite a bit, yes.
Oh, no.
Does it kill you, David? Does it kill you?
It does. It wounds me whenever I see it. And my clients, they send me pictures on WhatsApp or email and go, oh, look what's just been handed back in. And it's a lovely MacBook or a lovely Windows laptop that's all sleek, because we handpick our hardware that we use, right? We have got hardware conventions. We've standardized it. We make sure we tick all the boxes. We put a lot of time in there. We negotiate good deals, on bulk buys. We know how many we need to refresh. Then when someone brings back a MacBook or a Windows laptop covered in stickers, it hurts. Do you know how much value through IT asset disposition you can actually lose because people put stickers on the case?
A lot.
It's mad, because some of these stickers have been on there for so long. The glue residue sticks on there. Then when you try and get it off MacBooks in particular, you scratch the case. And then the ITAM provider goes, oh, lots of scratches. That's only a grade C. Well, I hope that the I Heart Data sticker that's on a MacBook, or the local coffee shop that's giving you stickers, is worth it, because we just lost money.
Well, I do have to say, the ticket volume one is my favorite sticker, of course. So nice. I have to advertise. I'm in marketing, so I have to advertise. And just to give you, in my personal experience, because I did asset management for a long time, it also killed me to put stickers on my laptop. But I have gotten very good with a razor and very good with Goobygon, because they've all been Macs. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I should have given you a trigger warning there for the trauma.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. It's I'll cry after the recording. But there's we found out that brake fluid is a good non-corrosive liquid that can get stickers off MacBooks. Not personally tried it yet, because trying to order brake fluid through an IT budget is a very strange thing to put through and gets rejected. But apparently some iTads providers, they use things like brake fluid to try and get a non-corrosive finish on those beautiful MacBooks and Windows laptops, so you don't have razor scratches all over it. Matt, I can't believe you worked in asset management before and have got stickers on your... It's your personal device, right? Please tell me that. Please.
It is not. That is not my personal device.
Oh, Matt. I'm not angry. I'm just very disappointed.
Very good, very good. There is a product here in the States called Goo Be Gone, and it has a citric acid in it that is very good at taking off the residue from even the worst stickers. Because man, and that's I don't know. If you're in asset management, you can influence employees to use a specific sticker. Just say, if you're going to put stickers on here, make sure it's a really good vinyl one. Because if it's got good vinyl, it'll peel right off. Most of the time, the adhesive comes with it. But we're spending too much time talking about stickers.
Talking about stickers. Yeah.
So David, I do want to thank you for accepting my offer of being our live guest in September. So if you're listening, please register for September 8th. We'll be talking about asset management, asset strategy, and where we go wrong. But David, how can people connect with you and SAM Beast Consulting so that they can get their asset management under control?
LinkedIn, Matt, to be honest, is probably the best place. Just type in David Foxen in the search bar or SAM Beast Consulting. Hopefully I come up, and I've got a YouTube channel that I bug people to try and watch my ITAM related videos.
Yeah, and I watch them. I like it. I'm a subscriber.
I do my best. Are you? You're my one subscriber. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, right. Well,
thank you for my mum. It's you.
Well, thank you for your time. Thanks for being on Ticket Volume, David.
Thank you very much. It's been an honor. Thank you, Matt.
And for our audience, did you know that you can join us for a live recording? Register today at ticketvolume.com and click on register. Of course, you know, we just mentioned it. Thank you for listening. You can change and improve this podcast by DMing me or shouting into the void. I'm going to probably see it. And speaking of Ticket Volume, did you know that this podcast is brought to you by Invigate? It's a fit-for-purpose service desk solution with integrated asset management designed to let you focus on supporting your organization without arduous implementations. In fact, IT teams from Toyota, NASA, and McDonald's use Invigate to manage requests, automate workflows, and centralize inventory data so that they can focus on delivering better service, because good service is good business.